Milk glass collecting for the beginners can be very confusing because of the lack of knowledge, as it is with all beginners in different areas. But before we start going through what some of the resources are for learning about milk glass, I want to emphasize that all the prior knowledge that we have and can be communicated is summarized and revised by the experience and the collections of the people that belong to the National Milk Glass Collectors Society, the NMGCS. They publish some of that knowledge in our Opaque News quarterly. I was a member back in 2003-2004. And they study their references. They study catalogs, newspaper clippings, whatever they can find to learn more about the glass that they collect. I was once a very serious collector, and then I stopped when I had a tragedy. I had a $400 box of Valorisol Portio disappeared customs coming from France. I was so heartbroken. I had about 6 or 8 pieces in there that I treasured deeply, never to be seen. I trusted the seller. I don't believe that was the problem, because I had received 2 shipments from him before and with no trouble. He seemed to be a very honest person. So let's go over some of the things that I have that I can refer to. This book, Early American Press Glass by Ruth Webb Lee, is a very old book. It was published, get a date for it here, 1951, and then reissued several times. And this is one of the ones I used least, because it includes everything that was made in clear glass, not specifically milk glass. Some of the patterns will repeat in milk, but there were so many glass makers that only did crystal, and those patterns are included in here mainly. Occasionally you'll come across a pattern that you recognize in milk glass. So I don't use this one very much. I'll look at it if there's a pattern I've never seen before, to see if I can find what company might have done it. Then there's Ferguson's. Let me emphasize that the price guides that you may find are totally obsolete. Back in the 60s, whenever you had to drive 300 miles and tour backwater antique shops looking for a piece such as displayed on the cover here, it was very expensive. But now eBay has flushed all that. Most pieces, except extremely rare ones, will come up on eBay, and you can have it shipped right to your back door without ever turning a key to a car. Now Ferguson's, a couple from Pittsburgh, PA, another price guide, published this book. This one happens to be signed by the authors. I did not get it signed, but when I bought it, it came with their autographs, which is quite nice. It's 100% milk glass. It has syrups, covered dishes, different companies. This is the McKee covered animals dishes. You have most of their offerings there. It's a really good resource. There's your Atterbury big fish dish. Got one of them over here. There he is. Excuse me for waving the camera around. Opaque Glass by S.T. Miller. Now this is a sad story. Originally published in '53, I think. The original plates, the photographs, were lost. Mine is a copy that was, they took an original book, disassembled it, and copied the pictures. So none of the patterns stand out real good in this copy, but it still is a good reference. And one of the things I found out that many times there will be no attribution. Miller did not know who made the pieces. He'll just say what they call it, like a scallop rib syrup with no manufacturer. And it's knowing the manufacturer is kind of pretty critical to a collector for no other reason than you want to be able to point to it and say it was made in Tarentum, or it was made in Pittsburgh, or it was made in Grapeville. And you have E.M. Belknap, milk glass. This came from Wisconsin. I probably bought it on eBay, I know I did. And it has other milk glass pieces in it that may not be in the other ones. There's a Lincoln plate. Lamps. And there are a few attributions in here, but there are many that are missing. Because, I mean, you know, literally some of these pieces could have came from Europe, England, shown up here in great quantities, and never have any idea who made them. Now this is the Encyclopedia of Milk Glass by Betty and Bill Newbound. You'll hear collectors just say Newbound says, or page so-and-so Newbounds. And it has quite a variety of things, new and old. You know, some of these other books I just showed you were published early enough that they wouldn't have anything of the newer Westmorelands and Fentons new designs in them. There's your Hazel Atlas Strawberry. But it's a good reference, and it's one of the more popular ones because I think it's more readily available. This is one of the ones where once you get it, you start saying, "Ooh, that's a Newbounds, I'll buy that." It's kind of like a shopping list. I put a video out there with these hand holding the torch commemoratives. It's speculated that that was commemorating the Statue of Liberty at the Philadelphia Exposition. And quite a few different companies made these, and Westmoreland reproduced them later on. And then in the back of this, it will give you some of the major lines by Smith, Westmoreland, and there's some Kemple and Fostoria, page of Fostoria, Kiwanis. I don't have too many of those pieces. That's one of their more popular ones, that big rooster. So that's a reference. There's your Fenton page. And once you buy this book here, Milk Glass, the Milk Glass book by Frank Sciarenza and James Slater, you've gone over the edge. You're now a darn serious collector. If you bought everything in this book, you would have hundreds, at least $100,000 or more invested. The most unusual pieces you can think of, from glass companies you may never heard of. A lot of imported pieces, unusual pieces, not politically correct, but so lovely. I'm fortunate that I own two pieces from Frank Sciarenza's collection. He marked them with a little clear label. It said from the Milk Glass collection of Frank Sciarenza, Newport, Connecticut, I think it says. I don't have this one in white or blue. I know some of you do. I'm jealous. Yep. We all are. So whenever you start getting into this book, you're into the high price stuff. A Snail on a Strawberry from Portio. And one of the things we have to remember is Portio and Valerie-Stahl operated separately. And even though they made some of the same designs, the glass is slightly different, the size is slightly different. And there's some catalog pages from the French Valerie-Stahl. So this is the Holy Grail Yeah, who doesn't have a water buffalo? So there are a lot of catalogs. I took some still photography that I'll run at the end of this video. I was fortunate enough to go to an auction where they were selling off some old Westmoreland catalogs and things. And then there are company-specific catalogs. Cottersport glass I have, and also Kemple. And they each have quite a story. This is quite interesting here because most milk glass collectors will immediately recognize this as being Westmoreland's specialty company. Well, evidently they copied it from Cottersport. The author of this book speculates that the mold actually might have been transferred from Cottersport to Westmoreland, and of course those were sold with food goods in them. And there's speculation by the author of this book that says that the mold may have been moved, but nobody knows that for sure. They call it the three fingers and panel. I don't know exactly what Westmoreland called it. The John Kemple story is really unique. He made some wonderful pieces, but they were all copies. He got a lot of McKee molds. A lot of people don't realize that Jeanette Glass, when they came from McKee, same factory, and they gave up their handmade molds and went to machine-made glass. And there's some of the molds that John Kemple got from McKee, Wiltec, Valtec, Quintec, Plytec, Rotec, Sextec, Martec, Gaztec, Bondtec, Carltec. That's all the press cut line. And his decorating department, mainly his wife, they did some really wonderful artwork. There's a Kemple plate right here. You can see how detailed that is. I'll treasure that. It's not old, but it's lovely. Then there's Westmoreland glass. I live about 5 miles from the factory, and at the end I'll show you what the factory looked like about 5 years ago. A friend of mine is an art teacher, photographer, and lived right across from the plant growing up, and went to visit his mother and stomped down through the weeds to take some pretty good photos of what was left of the plant. This is Westmoreland glass by Chaz West Wilson, one of the owners of the plants, part of the family. His grandpap ran it up till the Brainerd period. And it has most of their designs in it, not necessarily milk glass, much of the older stuff. But it shows you some of the beauty of the work that they did. Like an example, everybody's seen the brown rookwood. They did it in lavender, and I don't have any of that. This is what the rookwood looks like on in brown, which was what they made the majority of. They were copying rockwood, I guess. They called it pottery effects on glass. Now this is a really good resource book on Westmoreland, but we all have to take a bow to the books researched, put together, and published by Lorraine Kovar. Well-respected name in the world of Westmoreland glass collecting, ever present at big Westmoreland auctions. I was fortunate enough to have her sign my book. I bought it from her, I believe, at a Gene Gornig auction down in Newsstand. These cover one's from 1950 to 1984, which is when they closed. The other one from 1988 to 1940. This one would have a lot of the clear glass and heavily decorated glass, probably some of the cut glass, the mustards, the boxes. Remember, I just put a Miss Oriental Girl on the Old Milk Glass Facebook page the other day. This is where you find out about what you're collecting. If you're collecting Westmoreland, you get all the colors, all the different lines. She did a great job putting this together. This is a book all about the lines: Colonial, Della Robbia, Thousand Eye, Panel Grape, Princess Feather. It's a really good resource. I have a few catalogs. I don't refer to them much, but some of them are really cute. Westmoreland published, send out with a salesman, and would show different table settings with their patterns on. There's Old Quilt Offering. Different decorations. I've never seen anything like this. 3-ball. I have a 3-ball with a foot on it, big round foot. I only have one, but that's an older 3-ball that has a foot on it. Some more old quilt on the back there. Some copies of the Opaque News. Here's your Mary Gregory stuff, 1974 supplement to their main catalog. These spiral came in 2 sizes. I guess 4.5 and 7, something like that. About 2 inches. They have one more twist to them. High and tall, or low and tall. I particularly like this catalog. It's from 1948. It's in really good condition. But the fun part about it is the words. Oh my goodness, how we used to talk. This is a buffet setting, and the author says, "The hostess is put at ease regarding any anxiety to help or the punctual arrival of her guests when she entertains with a buffet dinner. This informal medium of entertaining is now quite widely in vogue for the Sunday night dinner or supper." And then they talk about the blue cover matching up with, oh my goodness. There's your painted fruits for party luncheons. Dinner by candlelight in clear glass. I think that's Thousand Eye. This is absolutely gorgeous. Can you imagine having a place setting of this? Oh my goodness. This is for a holiday dinner. Thanksgiving and Christmas are occasions in the year that call for festive tables. The Christmas table lends itself to endless ideas for the novel and original settings with sleighs, Christmas trees, miniature tableaux, Santa and his reindeer. Bridge luncheons. Good stuff. These things are big. I have one in, it's got a chip on one tooth. Some of different colors. But all these would have been, well, most of them would have been made in milk glass also. There's your Doric lace. Would have been done in milk glass. Chickens, roosters, old quilt. That was called Laurel Green. Now, Westmoreland readily admits that they did faithful reproductions. With the hand holding the dove. One of these actually has a whole page of faithful reproductions in it. I forget which one. No, I won't find it now. But this is, once you get all these books, you'll be a collector whether you want to or not. So, because it's just like shopping in a clothing catalog. Ooh, I like that. And then you go find one. They're not making them anymore. That's why we collect. I am an authorized dealer. This says so. You got to have the baker's dozen. If you're a Westmoreland and old milk glass collector, everybody's got a baker's dozen. Woof, woof. This is a counter display cardboard for Westmoreland. I don't know the year, and it doesn't say. But you can get a reproduction booklet. You can actually send 10 cents. I have one of those booklets somewhere. For 10 cents, if you wanted to buy a reproduction booklet, you could send it to a company and they would send you one. Because, as I've stated before, they readily admitted that a lot of these pieces were made by other companies and that they were reproducing them. If people like them, why change? These are the books that I use to research my milk glass. After a few pieces, you'll start to know old from new by looking at it. The old is very Victorian usually in its design, and you know, like those dresser bottles and things you see, as soon as you see them, you know they're old because of the Victorian influence. There's milk glass probably going back to the 1860s, but mainly when the 1880s rolled around is whenever glass companies started popping up everywhere, especially in western Pennsylvania, parts of West Virginia and Ohio, because of the availability of natural gas. That is what, just like steel was to Pittsburgh with availability of coke, coal coke, and the availability of natural gas is what really allowed the gas company or glass companies to take off in western Pennsylvania. Well, there's some research information for you there. I hope you enjoyed the video. Check out my other YouTube videos, 69 Harley. Thanks for watching. Happy hunting.